Hi guys, it's Katie here. Today we're going to look at SQP2RS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of explain it, and then I will walk you through it and model it, and just kind of tell you guys what I would do with it. Just a little bit of a warning, I guess. So I have two. One is that there's a car across, like way across our neighborhood, that for some reason its horn is going off. So if you hear that, don't panic, and I will try not to panic because it scared me twice now. So that's one thing, and the second thing is my parents are not in the house right now. They went outside and I didn't prep them and tell them that I was recording. So if they pop their head inside, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm recording, and hope that they don't like get me off track. All right, so that's our two warnings. We're going to get started. So SQP2RS, survey, question, predict, read, respond, and summarize. So for survey, you're going to just scan the text. So you're just looking at it, picking up different things. Question, come up with some questions based on your survey. So for example, look at the title. What do you think the title means? And that would be also predicting. What do you think this means? What do you think that means? What do you think is going to happen? After that, you're going to read, so actually taking the book or the text and reading it. And then after that, you would go back to your questions and respond, and then summarize what you read. So we're going to make some notes here, if I can do it right. Let's see. So just to keep in mind, this is before you read. This is after. All right. So we're going to look at this poem called And Later by Jen Bryant. And we're just kind of going to survey it, see what we think is happening here. What do we see? What do we notice? And I'm going to write some questions down. So my first thought, I wrote my questions down here so I wouldn't forget. My first thought is, what is a kaleidoscope? And I should change my pen color. So let's erase that. Oh, shucks. This is like real live time, guys, so you know all my mistakes, which you would know anyway because I do not script anything. So what's a kaleidoscope? It's like a little tube, like a paper towel roll, kind of like that, right? And then let's do a different color. In here, so let's pop that out. There's a circle, and you have all these different colors in it. So when you turn it, all these different colors make different designs. They might make a rainbow. That's a kaleidoscope. What other questions would I ask? I would want to ask, why and later? So why is the title? The title, this is going to be, for me, it would be a high school class. So I'd always want to ask, what is the title about? That's something that in, what am I saying? Something that in poetry you always want to ask, what is the title? What is it referring to? And I'd also want to ask, what's up with that stanza? Because this is the way that it was. Like, this is not something that I came up with to make it fit on the slide. This is the way that it was written. So I want to ask, why is that? And with this, we're also going to predict. So what do we think this is going to be about? Why a kaleidoscope? Why the and later? Why are they turning? I don't know. Maybe they're spinning around on their heads or something. I have no idea. I actually do have an idea because I read this, but you get the idea. So you'd ask your students why, who, what, when, where, why, all that kind of stuff. Just what you can get from just scanning it. So now we're going to go ahead and read it, and I will read it out loud to you. And Later by Jen Bryant. I take my kaleidoscope off the shelf, look through the little hole at the end of the cardboard tube. I turn and turn and turn and turn, letting the crystals shift into strange and beautiful patterns, letting the pieces fall wherever they will. All right, so we're going to continue, and we're going to respond. Where's my pen? Okay, so we're going to respond to this poem, and we're going to kind of look back at the questions that we created. So why and later? Just from reading it, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's really an answer. We can make it up. We can predict an answer. But right from the poem, there's not really anything in there that tells you what comes before, what comes later. Maybe the speaker did something, and then after they did whatever they did, they came to the shelf and took up the kaleidoscope. So what's up with this middle stanza? I turn and turn and turn and turn. Now, of course, you'd be asking this to your students. I am all alone. Well, I have the cats. I can ask the cats. But I'm all alone over here, so I'm just going to kind of give you my interpretation and model what I think about it. So when I see the way that everything is spaced out over here, I turn, pause, and turn, pause, etc., etc. You're going to pause, obviously. So it lets you stop and really appreciate that word. So instead of it being really close together and you'd read it, I turn and turn and turn and turn, right? I'm reading it fast. When you see those pauses, you're going to slow down and elongate the words. I turn and turn and turn and turn. So I'm going to say, where's my pen? I can't find it. Okay, here we are. That this is to slow the reader down. So it's meant to pause. We can ask a bunch of other questions with this, and because I would be teaching this in high school, I would want to ask questions like why turn instead of spin? So what about the word choice makes that special? I'd also want to ask about the last line, because in poetry you always want to look at the beginning and the end, wherever they will. Why will instead of may or might? Does that change the connotation or the meaning of the poem? Just different things like that. If I was going to do this with my kids in high school, that's stuff that I would look at. But this was our basic questions, and we went ahead and responded to them. So now we're going to summarize. So this poem is about someone, a person, a being. I don't know why I put a comma there, so we're going to erase that. A person who is playing. I keep losing where my pen is. I'm sorry, guys. A person who is playing with a kaleidoscope. That's what the poem is about, right? It's a person playing with a kaleidoscope and turning and turning and turning and turning. If I were going to do this in my classroom, I'm a very tactile learner, a very kinesthetic learner. I want to like get up and move around. That's the way that I teach, and it's the way that I learn. So what I would do is I would bring in a bunch of kaleidoscopes and tell my students, okay, whoever wants to try this, come grab a kaleidoscope, find a space where you're not going to hit anybody, and I would read the poem again slowly, and we would act it out. So once we've done that, you know, once I'm reading, take the kaleidoscope off the shelf. So you grab the kaleidoscope, you're turning and turning and turning. So you're turning with your kaleidoscope, and then, you know, when you're ready, go ahead and sit back down, and what we would then do is discuss, okay, how did that make you feel? What did you see? What did you experience? And then we would go back and look at the poem, and I would ask, okay, so now after you have experienced this poem in a very active way, does that change any of the meaning? Does it add anything to it? And I would ask those kind of questions. But that's just me. So again, SQP2RS, survey, questions, predict before reading, read, respond, and summarize after reading. This is something that you can do with little kids in kindergarten or just learning to read. This is something you can do with high school. It's pretty versatile. You can use academic texts, you can use textbooks, you can do whatever you want. Just a note, kind of tailor it to what you guys are reading. So like if it's a picture book, when you're scanning, obviously your eyes are going to kind of go to the pictures. So the pictures are more what the kids are going to pick up on that survey. If it's a textbook, look at the headings, that kind of stuff. So just a little note about that. And again, because we've been talking about academic vocabulary and all of that kind of stuff, I would say just think about like what words are the kids going to kind of pick up and want to ask about. So like in my poem, it was definitely kaleidoscope. So that's the first thing that you're going to kind of explore, is that vocabulary and that background that they're going to need to really understand what they're reading. So that's all for me. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, or whatever time of day it is when you're viewing this. Stay safe out there, and hopefully we can all see each other again in the fall.